Ati for akaba bate Likee TV na message and na bache na iso hit adoma na subscribe na like it. Na drop any comment bia enso e beje brand na reply mo. Se Torkornoo ehun sensem yi na isi abetodwa sisi no ye lawyer Martin Kpebu din sebia todwa Gyampo so din sebia todwa Prof Gyampo ama sisi kra de kame se majority of support na support GM se ma meni de nyuma abeye no emu ende dia ma enyuma bia ma meni no omudi bi atotodwa mpese ye gibrani bohram na itie nsem ni bia ba de aka bia de mu nsem bebram.
The factory saying that that's been our history, that is shown that some judges are not able to hold their independence. Okay, yes, once they get their appointment, then they seem to pander. Others have held it well, but look, if we are speaking bluntly, overall, we all know that generally the judges would, seem to defer to the presidents that appoint them. That's the overall picture. We are not saying that 100% that's what happens, but we mean generally. And Professor Atuguba once did a paper on it, and when he released it in Gyampo some years ago, it brought the judiciary to their feet. I remember Chief Justice Sophie Kufu then, Yasantua, our beloved Yasantua, telling Professor Atuguba to, be more nuanced, to put, salt. The phrase was to make sure that his statements were said that were nuanced and more acceptable, but not to make it so categorical that the judges tend to vote for the presidents that appoint them. Yes, Justice Duce also came in, but he was more measured. And then, so you see how far we've come. So Atuguba's paper is there. At least he has done a research paper. It's more rigorous than the anecdotal evidence that we are giving. But listen, nobody can fool me, and nobody can stop me from making the point that overall, generally, it goes when it comes to the matters, when it comes to the crunch. Let's separate the topics. There are those that generally go for a better society, like the cases that I've done, the Kpebu number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. Yes, those are not political. But we are talking about the hard cases. When it comes to the hard cases, it's politics. And let's not forget that even in the selection process, the presidents usually choose judges who share in their viewpoint, judges who share in their philosophy, judges who have their own, they share the same philosophy. That's it basically. That is what we usually say in common parlance, that this judge is NDC and that judge is MPP. That's what we say in common parlance. But if you want to put it intellectually, you would say that they share the same philosophies, the same vision, okay, the same ideology,
but
the
Martin,
same
not to cut you, but you see, Martin, you can share in the philosophy of the president without being a bootlicker, because we know elsewhere judges are appointed. Yes, no president want to appoint a judge who is openly opposed to him, but elsewhere judges are appointed. And you have the judges asserting themselves. If the appointing authority is wrong, they will say that you appointed us, but this one you are wrong. And so it is good to have people appointed that who share your philosophy. But the point is that sharing a philosophy of appointing authority is not the same as being seen as a bootlicker and always doing the bidding of your appointing authority. If you do that, then constantly our judges would always be candidates for attempts at removal.
Well, okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. So, and you see, this thing, sometimes, look, let's go open. Sometimes we make it look like solely in Ghana. Trust me. In the United States of America, when Trump won, before he won, what did he say? He said if he won, not the second term, the first term, that he was going to appoint justices to the Supreme Court who will vote for him to overturn Roe versus Wade. When we say Roe versus Wade, that's a Supreme Court decision in the U.S. that now bans abortion. There are certain exceptions. We cannot go in there. But generally, under Roe versus Wade, it was easier. Okay, the pregnancy was divided into three, the trimesters. First 3 months, second 3 months, third. It was generally easier first 3 months, second 3, and then more complicated in the third.
Right.
But overall, Roe versus Wade is generally gone. But the point we are making is that before Trump won, that was his promise to the people that, look, he will get judges who will come and overturn Roe versus Wade. And true, when he became president, Amy Goldman, the Catholic, the Catholic judge and other justices, he selected them well. They sat on it and boom, or if you like, boom, Roe versus Wade was gone. So it tells you that generally, it's something. It's not peculiar to Ghana. We are not saying it's good. Okay, no, that's not. But we're just saying that it's a human problem. And so far, we have shown that we are about to take the lead. We are about to make sure that the president doesn't appoint superior court justices and doesn't appoint the chief justice. So for Pufu, he said it. She granted an interview. Before she granted it, we even had started. This is a conversation that has been going on. It's been over 10 years since this conversation started that in the new constitution, the president should not be appointing chief justices. We need a different judicial council that would not also have many of the president's appointees. The president will not appoint persons onto the judicial council to be independent. And it's that judicial council that will see to the appointment. So yes, we are moving towards there. It looks like JM is ready to give it. Everybody sees that JM is hungry to leave a legacy. It looks like he's hungrier than Kwame Nkrumah, it appears, because he wants to leave his mark on this country. And it's good. It's good we trolled him in opposition for 8 years. I think the trolling has finally, it got to him. And so that the next time I get an opportunity to lead Ghana, I'll be said that even Kwame Nkrumah will find it difficult to beat me. And so far, it looks like it. So even though we've not yet seen the work of the Constitutional Review Committee, it's very clear that generally the nation is moving towards an independent judiciary, at least in the form of appointment. Let's not forget, even when the president doesn't appoint the justices, there are other ways the president can control. You remember Chief Justice Torkornoo, the current Chief Justice, said it, that at a point, Akufo-Addo was using money to control the judiciary. He would not release their budgetary allocations and thereby would be able to control them. So we'll still be then left with the financial independence. So perhaps the chairman of the Constitutional Review Commission, Professor Prempeh, should be looking at that angle too. How we'll strengthen it. Yes, currently, on paper, they'll tell you that, when the judiciary send their budget, you can't cut it and the rest. But practically, there are ways of going around it. So perhaps the committee should be looking at how they can get the financial independence too.
Actually, now, and this is why I bring Lawyer Digital Maclo, because I just want to run up on this aspect of the conversation, because it ties directly into the current state of affairs. Is there a real challenge that this call for the review of these powers will solve? Counsel?
I think that we are faced with an issue that we should not confuse matters. What we are discussing this morning relates to a press conference by the minority leader. He calls himself the mighty minority leader. What that means, I don't know. But what is not in doubt is that the minority leader says that there is an unacceptable attempt by the NDC to infiltrate the judiciary, and now says that civil society groups must condemn that act. And not only that, he invites all other persons, religious leaders and what have you, to tell President Mahama to stop what the Constitution says he should do. Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution is in clear terms. Thankfully, our Supreme Court had the opportunity to interpret Article 146 on the removal processes, particularly as it relates to a Chief Justice. Question: has President John Dramani Mahama done anything today not stipulated by the 1992 Constitution? Certainly the answer is no. Now, President Mahama, having assumed the office of President of the Republic of Ghana on the 7th of January 2025, has received 3 petitions. The petitions are to the effect that, based on the constitutional arrangement, the only basis that you can remove the Chief Justice or a Justice of the Superior Court is 1, through stated misbehavior, incompetence, or infirmity. As I speak to you now, I have not had the benefit of seeing the content of the petition. I have not seen it. Because if you recall, the Supreme Court in Franka J. Chum had provided a certain parameter that the entire process should be kept in camera. Strict confidentiality. So President Mahama, guided by this decision of the Supreme Court, has kept the petition under wrap. In fact, if you recall, when Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, wrote to him, however, copy to the Ghana Bar Association, Association of Judges and Magistrates, obviously, the President expressed his disappointment with that conduct. Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, demanded of the President, or requested, that Mr. President, I need 7 days to respond to these petitions before a prima facie case can be made against me. The President advised properly, said, yes, even your request for 7 days, I'll give you 10 days. That was offered her generously. Let the record reflect that Afenyo Makin, one of the principal advisors of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on legal matters, did not advise Akufo-Addo to give Charlotte Osei the benefit of these 7 days or 10 days. That is our record. So it is a mark of it. Let me say, it is hypocritical, yes, for my learned senior Afenyo Makin to do a press conference and suggest that President Mahama is doing something untoward. It's regrettable.
Well, no, he's not the one who holds that. The argument by the immediate past Attorney General is that to the extent that this injunction application is being heard, it behoves on the President to halt any process ongoing under Article 146 until the determination of that case.
You see, as for Godfred, I won't even talk about him for now. Let me deal with a major issue. You see,
why is that? That underlines the position that Macron has taken.
President Mahama's fidelity to the 1992 Constitution is something that should be celebrated. When he became president, he appointed a Shrad boss,
yes,
called Madame Vivian Loretta Lamptey.
yes.
Now get something. Honorable Frank Anodompre, MPP MP, and another gentleman by name Richard Nyama brought a petition to President Mahama that the Shrad boss so appointed by him has misconducted herself, financial issues, and therefore were seeking the removal of the Shrad boss. Yeah. President John Dramani Mahama, consistent with his character to uphold the rule of law, accepted the petition, forwarded it to the CJ then. The CJ then made a prima facie determination, and the Shrad boss, Madame Loretta Lamptey, then
An appointee of President Mahama
was removed by President Mahama.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Today, as we speak, President John Dramani Mahama is in receipt of 3 petitions. I don't know the individuals. What has he done? Having received these 3 petitions, to warrant that unprovoked, meritless provocation from Alfenyo Markin. Has President Mahama done anything inconsistent with the 1992 Constitution? No. He received the petition. The Chief Justice said, President, I have become aware through a press release by your spokesperson, the Honorable Felix Kwachi, that these petitions are in your custody for my removal. Mr. President, before you make any comment further on this petition, Mr. President, I want to respond. The President said, well, I mean, that's fair. In fact, you should have actually spoken to me. Meanwhile, the letter requesting for it, you've copied other people. But that's beside the point. Your request is legitimate. I will give you 10 days to adequately prepare. Now, the president, having done this, was it consistent with the Constitution? Due process. He said, look, let everybody, you can't condemn a person without hearing, even though I differ. The president says, I will do that. Now, the Council of State or whoever is supposed